Welcome back. In this show, we are jumping into nutrition and diet. Bam, bam, boom. Let's do it.
Now playing Distracted with Brian Pulaski.
With your mind, you hold power. Put my mind into the power.
First off, ladies and gentlemen, I am not a doctor. Do not follow any medical advice I give. I have no training and am completely unqualified to give nutritional advice. Obviously, speak to your doctor before you make any changes to your health and nutrition. We're going to be talking about something called intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is more of an eating pattern that cycles between periods of fasting and eating. It could be clarified or considered a diet, but it's not necessarily a diet. Really what it is, like I said, it's a pattern of eating cycles, because it's not specifically telling you what to eat or how to eat it or what to add to your food. It's really based on when you eat it. It's an eating pattern that cycles between periods of fasting and eating. So what is fasting? Fasting is when you are leaving your body at a caloric deficit. You are taking in less calories than your body needs for a typical day based on your weight, height, age, and activity level. So that sounds easy, right? We've all heard that. You bring in less calories than you actually put out. You know, you're spending more calories than you bring in. You're going to lose weight. That just makes sense. So intermittent fasting kind of goes along with that philosophy. It's not consuming calories. That is fasting in its entirety. Is you are not consuming any calories during your fasting state. So let's get into it. Intermittent fasting is not a diet, like I said, in the conventional sense. It's more accurately described as an eating pattern. Common intermittent fasting methods involved daily 16-hour fasts or fasting for 24 hours twice per week. So there's really two methods that you could use for intermittent fasting. Fasting has been a practice forever throughout human evolution. Ancient hunter-gatherers didn't have supermarkets, obviously. They didn't have refrigerators where they could store their food, any type of cold storage for that matter. Food wasn't available necessarily year-round, so sometimes they couldn't find any food, and as a result, humans evolved to be able to function without food for extended periods of time. So in fact, fasting from time to time is more natural than always eating 3 to 4 or even more meals per day, which is kind of typical of how society, at least in the United States, is now, with the breakfast, lunch, dinner, or even breakfast, lunch, depending on where you live, supper, dinner, breaking it into 4 categories. Or, you do smaller portions throughout your day. There's philosophies all over the place. Like I said, I am not a doctor. Do not listen to what I'm saying. I'm just throwing it out there on what I feel is good nutrition and good health for yourself. So let's get into it. 2 different methods that you could follow for intermittent fasting is basically you have an eating window. An eating window in this method, it's taking a section of 24 hours in a day and dedicating a portion to eating and a portion to fasting. So that would be your eating window. You have 24 hours. In that 24 hours, you only have a portion of that time where you're going to be eating. So in this eating window, it depends on what you want to read, what kind of research. It basically comes down to either a 16-8 or a 14-10. So that's 24 hours. 16-8 would be 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of consuming your meal. That would be in your eating window. And really, if you think about it, there's probably so many times in your life that you've actually done an intermittent fast for the day that you didn't even realize it. Maybe you went to, you might have had an early dinner. You didn't eat that night. After dinner, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning. Maybe you're not even hungry. You're busy. You're running around, or maybe you just sleep in and somehow you have gone that entire 16 hours and you have fasted. It's not very hard to do, but so that is one method. You can go a 16-8, you could go a 14-10, depending on what you read and what doctor tells you about it. Obviously, you want to talk to a doctor about this if you're considering it. Some doctors and some research says that for females, it should be a 14-hour fasting window and a 10-hour window of eating. So basically for females, it's allocating more time for women than it is for men. But overall, you're kind of safe with a 16-8. 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of an eating window. Another method of intermittent fasting is what they call an eat, stop, eat. So if you take 7 days out of your week, you're dedicating 2 of those days to a 24-hour fast on any 2 non-consecutive days out of those 7 days. For example, maybe one day you skip dinner and then you don't eat again until the following day. You'll have dinner that day. So you take just 2 days out of a given 7 days and you fast completely for those 24 hours. 2 different methods. Realistically, I would say the easier method would be the 16-8. Most of the people that I know, most people that I talk about, myself included, I've tried both. I tend to like the 16-8. It's just easier to do and your body definitely gets used to it. However, I have met a couple people that they really enjoy a eat, stop, eat method, and that maybe they'll have. It just depends on what your lifestyle is. Maybe your weekends, it's a little busier with the kids or things happen, or you just tend to indulge a little bit more on the weekends with alcohol or extra calories or whatever. And I've known a bunch of people that I've talked to that actually will do an eat, stop, eat, where they'll fast for that Monday and then maybe they'll fast the Thursday preparing for the weekend. It's all based on how you want to do it, but there are 2 different methods of this. The benefits, oh my goodness, there's some benefits, lots of benefits to intermittent fasting. Let's get to how it affects your body. When you fast, your HGH levels, that's your human growth hormone levels, go up. And you want that. Your insulin levels go down. So human growth hormone, your HGH, like I said, is the levels of growth hormone. They skyrocket in a fasted state. They're increasing as much as 5-fold. This has benefits for fat loss and muscle gain. To name a few. So for example, if you're somebody that likes to be active and do weight training or any type of thing, research this. Obviously don't go directly off what I'm saying, but there are huge benefits to working out in a fasted state and weight training in a fasted state. Specifically because when you're fasted, your HGH levels are tremendously high, and that's going to be a big growth for muscle. That's going to be advantageous for muscle growth. I'm kind of talking over myself here. Your insulin sensitivity improves and levels of insulin drop dramatically. Lower insulin levels make stored body fat more accessible. So to break that down, when you're in a fasted state, not only is your HGH levels going up, but your insulin sensitivity goes down, which means your body is making your fat storage more accessible for energy. Your body is saying to itself, okay, I don't have any food coming in, so I need to access some sort of storage to burn off for energy, and that lower insulin levels releases so that so the body fat is more accessible for burning off for energy, and that's a good thing. That's what you want for fat loss. As far as weight loss is definitely the most common reason for people to try intermittent fasting. There's huge benefits as far as focus, energy levels, all kinds of things. But when you talk to most people, they get into it because of weight loss, and it makes sense. You're going to lose I don't want to say a lot of weight. You are going to probably lose a lot of weight for a short period of time. just in the beginning because your body is kind of getting used to it, but it's definitely the most common reason that people try intermittent fasting. It just makes sense, by making you eat fewer meals, intermittent fasting can lead to an automatic reduction in calorie intake. That's what we started the show with. If you're going at a caloric deficit for the day, you're taking in fewer calories than you are putting out. Your body's at a caloric deficit and you're naturally just going to lose weight because of that. Additionally, intermittent fasting changes your hormone levels to facilitate the weight loss. Again, it increases the fat-burning hormone norepinephrine, and that hormone is very good. That's what you want released so that you're burning off the fat storages that you have. It's burning off fat storages to create energy. Because of these changes in the hormones, your short-term fasting is going to increase your metabolic rate. Your metabolic rate is how quickly you're going to be burning fat. And by changing these hormones, your metabolic rate is going to increase roughly about 3.5% up to 14%. Again, depending on your age, your height, your weight, your activity level, but overall you're going to get an increase in metabolic rate, and that's how quickly that you are burning fat. By helping you eat fewer and burn more calories, intermittent fasting causes weight loss by changing both sides of the calorie equation. You're not bringing in as many calories because you're eating less meals. You're eating less calories, you're bringing in less calories, so that side of the equation is being met. And because you're in a fasted state, your body is reacting to that and it's increasing your metabolic rate to help burn off your fat storages. Keep in mind, though, that the main reason for its success is that intermittent fasting helps you eat fewer calories overall. So if you binge and eat massive amounts during your eating periods, you're probably not going to be losing weight. If you're on a 16-8 protocol and you're in your 8-hour eating window, if you're just binging on burgers and pizza and like really sloppy, gross food that might taste good but is not good for your body, you're kind of negating the benefits of this program. It's based on you're eating healthy overall. No matter what your nutrition and diet is, you want to eat healthy and bring in clean food. This is just a pattern of when you eat that you're doing. Intermittent fasting is just telling you like when you should be eating these healthy foods. So, again, if you binge and eat a lot of food, you're probably not going to lose much weight at all, if any. Going back to the health benefits, intermittent fasting can have many benefits for your body and brain. It can cause weight loss, which we just talked about. Also, it may reduce risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. May also help you live longer. These are, keep in mind, again, I have to keep prefacing this, I am not a doctor. Do the research yourself, but just based on research that I've read, things that I've read, books I've read, things I've listened to about this, it's all hitting on topics of helping reduce risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and potentially helping you live longer. It's just a very healthy decision for how you're eating. The research on this, granted, it does not seem to be very extensive. It's kind of in the beginning phases. I don't know that there's studies that reach back maybe longer than 10 years, so keep that in mind. But some of the health benefits include insulin resistance. Your intermittent fasting is going to help reduce insulin resistance. It's going to be lowering your blood sugar by about 3 to 6% and fasting insulin levels of 20 to 31%, which should protect against type 2 diabetes. I have all this information. This is not off the top of my head. Some of this information I did have to write down. It's extensive, but it's important. So more health benefits is inflammation. Some studies show that reductions in markers of inflammation, which is a key driver of many chronic diseases. Lots of inflammation causes back pain, aches, uncomfortableness. Sometimes inflammation can cause bloating, that uncomfortable feeling that you get from eating too much, or sometimes you eat the wrong foods. You just kind of feel gross as a way to phrase it. But inflammation, by reducing inflammation overall in your body, that's going to be huge. A lot of people are reliant on taking over-the-counter pills to reduce their inflammation, ibuprofen type of thing. You can eat clean foods and change your eating pattern and help with this inflammation rather than relying on ibuprofen daily. Your heart health, intermittent fasting may reduce your bad LDL cholesterol, your blood triglycerides, inflammatory markers, blood sugar, and insulin resistance, which is all risk factors for heart disease. So it helps with your heart, it helps with inflammation, it helps with insulin resistance. Regarding cancer, studies don't go too far back on this, like I said, but animal studies using intermittent fasting suggests that intermittent fasting may prevent cancer. Brain health. Intermittent fasting increases the brain hormone BDNF, and it may aid the growth of new nerve cells. It may also protect against Alzheimer's disease. Another benefit is anti-aging. Intermittent fasting can extend lifespan in rats. Studies show that fasted rats live about 36 to 83% longer. Again, not a doctor, do your own research. However, the studies are out there on this, and you just kind of take from what you want with it. Some of this stuff might not make sense to you, might be a little bit over your head. It was to me in the beginning, but if you're genuinely interested in this, it's worth just taking a look at. Side effects. There's always side effects with some things, and like everything, it might have some things that affect you and you might not like it. The most common side effect of intermittent fasting is hunger. You're not eating as much, and most people feel that they need to eat to feel better. And I was one of those people. For a long time, I felt like anxiety. I'd feel shaky if I wasn't eating at the proper time, but your body kind of adjusts to that, and it doesn't take more than like 2 or 3 days before you get used to the feeling of hunger. We kind of live in a society that we're so used to having food on demand that we're not used to being hungry. We feel hungry, and it makes us react in negative ways because we're like, oh my goodness, I don't like this. I need to fix this. But that's natural. Your body's just not used to it. Mentally, you're just not used to being hungry. And it really doesn't take more than about 2 or 3 days before you get used to that feeling of hunger, and you don't even notice it anymore. People with certain medical conditions should not fast without consulting a doctor first. I'm going to say this over and over throughout the show. I am not a medical professional. I am not qualified to be giving you advice on this. I can give you the information. You can do what you'd like with it. Intermittent fasting has an outstanding safety protocol, however, or safety profile. There's nothing dangerous about not eating for a while if you're healthy and well-nourished overall. So if you're statistically like about 75 to 80% of the people in the United States, you are healthy and well-nourished overall. And going on an intermittent fasting protocol or diet is not going to affect you at all. You're going to have no side effects other than hunger. Now, when I look at research and talk to other people, I don't read about one specific thing, but one thing that I experience whenever I get off of intermittent fasting for about 3 or 4 days, and then I jump back on it, because I'm pretty much on it almost 7 days a week throughout the whole year. Every once in a while, if I go on vacation, I'll drop doing it, which is not a big deal. It doesn't affect much. But when I do notice when I come back to it, I do have the hunger for about a day, 2 days, where I'm noticing that, and it kind of makes me a little grouchy for those first 2 days. But every once in a while, I will notice when I get back to intermittent fasting that I experience a headache. And again, that's usually within the first 1, 2, 3 days. So if I was to give a window of when the side effects are going to happen, I would say the first, second, by the third day, you're done. Within those first, second, third days, that's the challenge. You're getting used to not eating as much. You're getting used to eating a shorter period of time of when you can eat. And I do experience every once in a while that I'll get just like kind of like a mild headache throughout the day. It doesn't last very long, and I would definitely not consider it a huge negative, but I do want to be completely transparent and honest with you that I do experience a headache sometimes when I go back to intermittent fasting after taking, maybe a week off or so. So what can you have? What can you have while you're fasting? You can have water. You could have black coffee. Now, depending on who you talk to, they are going to tell you, yes, you can add maybe milk. Maybe you could add cream, but most of the coffee that people drink nowadays, especially the ones like at Starbucks, that is not the kind of coffee that you can have in a fasted state. We're talking about I want to say non-dairy. Really, you want nothing with calories in it. So any of the flavored creams are all going to have definite amounts of sugar and calories in there. You are safe with water, black coffee, tea. Really, any non-calorie drink is going to be fine in a fasted state. If you do work out or do weight training while you're in a fasted state, keep that in mind. It depends on how you want to do it. A lot of people like to be sipping on something while they're working out. You just have to work. I'm going to add that as a side effect. One of the side effects is you have to adjust your lifestyle to it and figure out when do I want to eat and when do I have to eat. If we're going to get into weight training, and this could be another show, but for example, after weight training, you definitely want to bring in high levels of quick release proteins, and that's going to take you out of your fasted state. So if you're like me, I plan my fasted state to end as soon as my workout is done so I can get my protein shake in. Just something to consider. If you need a little pick-me-up on the way to working out, whether it's running, whatever you choose for working out, black coffee, it doesn't take very long to get used to it. I'm so used to it now that I think it's delicious and I prefer it. 5 days out of the week, I do enjoy to have a nice sugary coffee with my girl though on the weekends in the morning. Other than that, I love black coffee, and boy, it's the perfect pick-me-up. When you're in a fasted state and you have some black coffee, you're like nitro fuel. I love it. So how do we wrap this up in a nice little tidy package? There's really no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to nutrition, guys. As far as your diet, what you're going to eat, I'm not telling you how to do it, not telling you what to do. If you're honestly considering intermittent fasting, look it up. There are tons and tons of resources that you could look at. All my information came off of healthline.com. If you go to healthline.com and in their little search bar on the top right, you could just search IF or intermittent fasting, and you're going to get all this information. You're going to get all the references to the studies and research that I've provided you with. It's all going to be there, guys, on healthline.com. Ask around, ask your doctor, ask anyone you want that you trust. But, there's lots and lots of benefits to it. What it comes down to is the best diet for you is the one that you can stick to in the long run. This is absolutely something that you could try, and if you don't like it, there are no repercussions to it. You eating less, eating healthier, and not eating as often, which is what intermittent fasting is, it's not going to hurt you. So if you try it and you don't like it, well, then don't do it. Go to something else. Go to something that's going to work for you. But if you do try this, I'm urging you to give it at least a week. Give it one solid week, because the first couple days aren't going to feel right to you. Mentally, you're not going to be used to being hungry, but your body's not struggling because of it. Keep in mind, your body's loving you because of it. But once you get past that mental block, mental stage of, oh my gosh, I'm hungry. Once you get past that and you're used to it and you don't even really notice it anymore, it's really an easy protocol to follow. It's really an easy diet to follow. And, it's just telling you when to do it. It's an eating pattern that cycles between periods of fasting and eating. It's beneficial to your body, like I said. So if I went over your head on any of this in the show, guys, I apologize. There's a vast amount of information. I'm just trying to get it out there. What I want you guys to just live a healthy lifestyle and thrive. That's kind of the idea. The older we get, I'm not that old, but the older we get, the harder things are going to get, and the more you need to take advantage of your body and treating your body right so that you can live this awesome, rad lifestyle that we want to live. And that's it. That's it for the show, guys. This was all about intermittent fasting. Go check it out. Hit me up in some comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. Write me an email if you'd like. It's distractedshow@gmail.com. You can tell me you liked it, you tried it. Give me some feedback on this, and maybe I'll put you on the next show, and we can leave some comments. We can continue on this topic if you want to hear some more about it. You could also write me an email if you want to give me some ideas for something you want to hear about. I got some ideas for some people I'm going to bring on the show. But the best contact for me would be, you could go to Distracted Show on Instagram or Distracted Show on Twitter, or write me an email, distractedshow@gmail.com. And that's it, guys. I hope you really enjoyed it. I will catch you next time. Later.